We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Justin, not Bieber, on Facebook. He asks, how do you get... Oh, this is Facebook and not Twitter.
That's
for
right.
some reason, I thought it was Twitter for a second. He said, what's the smallest room we would consider converting into a dedicated theater? Is 11 by 13 too small?
I hope not, because my room's like that size.
Yeah, I was going to say 11 by 13 is like a normal bedroom, and a lot of people convert a bedroom into that. I have seen some really super small home theaters, like pictures of them where like it ups like attic spaces and stuff like that, where the walls are sloped and the TV's pushed like in the middle right there, and you've only got like a little space, and there's like basically you can only walk down the center because it's like an A-frame thing, because so you can only walk down the center of the thing, and there's one chair in the middle. I mean, I would get claustrophobic, but I think that what happens is it gets dark in there and you forget about it. So I don't think that I have an answer. I mean, as long as you can get enough, you get the speakers a little bit far enough away from you, which I would guess would be 3 feet on either side and behind you.
Sure.
3 feet, and then
that's what Dolby would say.
5 feet or so at the most to your. So let me see, 5 feet in front of you for the TV, 3 feet to the side, 3 feet to the back, and then 3 feet above you. So let's say
8 by 6.
I think 8 by 6 by 7.
Wow,
that would be. I think that's
the
about
absolute smallest.
That would be the absolute smallest. I think that could possibly go. And be
also maybe just want to wear headphones at that point.
I agree with what you're saying, but then again, we've got Gabe over there who's doing all kinds of weird stuff. So don't judge me with my little. It'd be 8 by 6. I mean, they have these tiny houses these days, right? I just saw that. I don't have cable, so I didn't know tiny houses was a thing. I was flipping through thing, and they're like, "Look at my tiny house." I'm like, "What the hell's wrong with that house?" Like, oh, my mom's like, "Oh, that's a thing now." Like, what's a thing?
What's the smallest room I would consider converting into a theater? So that's slightly different from what is the absolute bare minimum that could potentially be. What would I consider? I would say something that's 10.5 feet long, because I'm like, I don't want anything smaller than a 65-inch screen, which means I want to sit 6 feet away from it.
Okay.
There's some depth at the front, and I need some room behind me, so I'd say 10.5 feet long. I want 3 seats. That's the minimum I would consider. I want 3 seats, so I would make the room 11.5 feet wide. Okay. You can just barely fit in 3 seats with a little bit of room on either side. And 7 feet tall is the minimum by code, so you're not really allowed to make a room where the ceiling isn't at least 7 feet high. So that would be my minimum, 10.5 by 11.5 by 7.
All right. He asks, are there any special considerations in a very small theater versus a larger room? Yeah. How much? It depends on what you mean by larger room. If you're talking like an honest to goodness home theater that sits like 50 people, yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff. But if you're going from your itty bitty tiny room to your whatever room, normal size theater, maybe slightly larger than what you're talking about here, like let's say, I don't know, 10, how about 12 by 20 by 9-foot ceilings or something like that. I mean, the considerations end up being very close to being the same. You're worried about bass output, how much, where you're going to put your subwoofers, how you're going to get even bass in there. If you're having extremely inefficient speakers, which is unlikely at these sizes, that's really going to make a difference. You could worry about amplification. I probably wouldn't in most cases.
Most normal sized rooms with
I don't really think there's that many considerations that are different, because you're always going to be considering, should I get direct view or a projector? Should I get sealed subs or ported subs? Should I get 2 rows of seats or 1 row of seats? So should I get these speakers or those speakers? It's all the same stuff. So to
me, the consideration when you have a really small theater is just that you do need to plan ahead, and you need to actually look at what are the dimensions of the subwoofer? What are the dimensions of the speaker? What are the dimensions of the TV and the TV stand I might be using? Or whatever. because in a really small theater, every inch might count.
Right.
So it just means you need to be that much more like cognizant of the fact that all this stuff has to physically fit. And even things like, well, where am I actually going to run the wire for this? Or how am I actually going to get the power cord over to where it needs to be? Because when you have really cramped quarters, that stuff can come up and present a big problem that you don't have an inch to give up to make it work. Whereas in a larger room, of course you do. You're like, oh, I'll just move that over 3 inches. No big deal.
Right.
In a tiny room, maybe you can't even do that. So to me, that's the consideration. You have to be really aware of perhaps every little inch. But other than that, the basic concepts of how to put together a really nice, good looking, good sounding theater are the same.
Yeah. So he already has a projector. What's his room size? 11 by 13. Okay. He already has a projector. Does it make sense to try for a 10-foot viewing distance? An 11-foot room? Is that what he's suggesting?
Well, 13 feet long, 11 feet wide, 13 feet long.
He was thinking of removing closet doors, putting everything in the closet behind an acoustically transparent screen, and maybe just a love seat and the projector mounted on the shelf behind the seats. Could do all that and still have a 5.2.4 Atmos setup. Does he still need 2 subs? Okay, here, let's take this one at a time. And the first one we're going to take is, does he need 2 subs? And the answer is yes. Okay,
yes, you do.
Now, let's go back. 11 by 13, he wants to sit 10 feet away, so 3 feet behind him. He wants to put everything behind all the speakers in closet?
I guess he has a central closet, because he was talking about he could have his center speaker like in the closet.
Yeah.
And then have an acoustically transparent screen that goes right in front of that closet.
And then he's going to put the other speakers outside the closet?
The other speakers would be to the left and the right of the screen. And he did ask about that. He's like, he's probably going to get Sierra 2s, which are bookshelf speakers that are about 7.5 inches wide. He does want to acoustically treat this room, including having maybe bass traps in the corners.
Right.
So he's like, put it all together. What size screen could he get? How far away should or could he sit? How much space does he need to the sides of the screen?
My room is about 11 feet wide, if I remember correctly. So I've got, what do I have? 92?
You have 92.
And my speakers are awfully close to the side walls, dude.
Oh, yes.
So I would say the maximum you're going to get is 92.
Okay.
You could get a little bit bigger.
I was saying 100 is the absolute max I would go in.
Yeah, I wouldn't go 100, dude. I'd be straight up. I only go
like
100.
To me, what I would do is I would get like GIC bass traps, like what they call their 4-inch panels, but they're actually 5.5 inches deep because they include an air gap.
Yeah.
Now I wouldn't straddle the corners with them. I would actually put them flush on the wall in the corners. So you're losing 5.5 inches front to back in that corner. You're losing 5.5 inches left to right in that corner.
Right.
You could put the bookshelf Sierra 2s like within 2-3 inches of those, and then you could just barely fit a 100-inch screen. So I'm saying you need a minimum of 20 inches to the left and the right of your screen. You could just make that work with a 100-inch screen. I probably agree with Tom. I think a 92 might be better, but let's say you went with the 100-inch screen. I'd say you wouldn't want to sit farther away than 9 feet from that. That'd give you a nice 42-degree field of view if you're sitting 9 feet. So all of this kind of works out, right? If you got a 92 sat about 8.5 feet away, that gives you a little bit of wiggle room to put bass traps in the corners and have your bookshelf speakers on either side. So to me, I agree. I think about 92 inches works about right.
Yeah. And yes, you can still have a 5.2.4 Atmos.
Oh, you sure could. Yeah, because now if you're sitting 8.5 feet or 9 feet away from that screen, you got
7.2.4.
You could do 7. You could.
I have 7.
You actually could.
I have 7 in here. So I have 7.2.2, I guess, but it's not Atmos. It's just heightened speakers for now until I get a new receiver, which will happen exactly
and
never.
He actually had one more thing on Facebook. I kind of forgot to put it in there, but he's like, since the room is so small and he's got this screen, but he wants to put the projector on the rear shelf, he actually asked if he needs a short throw projector, but definitely not. Definitely.
Regular projector will work here. This is like a normal throw.
The lens is going to be 11.5 feet away or so, because there's the body of the projector to remember.
Yeah.
So it's the distance from the lens to the screen. So you're talking maybe 11.5 feet from the lens to a 92 or 100-inch screen, that is a normal throw for a projector. In fact, that might be longer than, say, some of the BenQ projectors can do, because the BenQ projectors have pretty short lens ranges.
Yeah.
If you've got any of the mid-level Epsons or Sonys or a JVC or any of those or something like that, it'll absolutely have no problem doing this sitting on a rear shelf, projecting a 92 or 100-inch screen.
Yeah. You're not going to have any problems with that. All this other stuff. I don't know what this stuff is. All right. His 6-year-old loves music, but most kids' headphones sound pretty crappy. Do we have any suggestions? I am going to sneeze. That is my suggestion.
Okay.
Hold on. That's going to happen. You go.
So I've got a suggestion. Yeah, Sony has a little pair of headphones called the ZX or ZX ZX310. They come in a variety of colors. I found them over at B&H Photo for $20. Now, I actually bought a pair of these because I wanted some headphones for my niece when we took a little trip. They're small, they're foldable, so you can actually like kind of fold them in. But they're small. They come in this, variety of colors, so that's great for kids. $20, you're not super worried if they get broken. You can get another pair. And I was shocked at how decent they sound. I would happily listen to them. They're really pretty darn decent.
I talked about this in the podcast not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before that. I got the kids Sennheiser, Santa got the kids Sennheiser headphones that were big. They were over ear, right? So the over ear on me, they're actually larger than the headphones I'm currently wearing. They're plastic. They're like $20 a pop. They're gray. It's like one of their entry level things that I got over at Amazon. But the thing about over ears, they're meant to be over ears. Now, these things are certainly not going to stand up to a lot of abuse. They don't fold, what Rob said. They do, like, just like the cups turn in, that sort of thing. That's about it.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, it's a year and a little bit later. They got one functional pair left, I think. The other two have broken because they've sat on them or they've just, they've done stuff to them. Stepped on them mostly because my children are filthy beasts that will not pick up anything no matter what. So I would just say look at Sennheiser. Go for it. Don't worry about looking for something that's a kid size ear. Go for an over ear model or a larger on ear model, and that is going to fit them. Believe it or not. Yeah. And 6 years old, I mean, that's how old my son was my youngest was when he got his.
No, my niece was 4 at the time that she wore the Sonys that I mentioned. They fit her absolutely fine.
Yeah. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.